listening to African Men Speak. 5 questions, real voices, honest perspectives. In this series, we listen to African men and women at home and in the diaspora sharing how they understand masculinity and how tradition and change are shaping their lives today. What does masculinity mean to you today?
Masculinity to me today means what it meant back then. Are you offering an energy of protection, of support and provision, making reference to biblical order of things? So quite old school. So just a biblical order of things, the provision, protection.
Can you share a specific moment or experience that shaped your understanding of masculinity?
Experiences that have shaped my views. The first is my upbringing. So I grew up in a household where both parents were present. I guess the roles were as traditional as we can view them, like from an outsider's point of view. Dad paid the bills and, mom cleaned the house. So that's where my set view of it is. However, being present in the house, you see that, yes, dad pays the bills, but mom cleans the house and works. And in how I view things right now is that there's a certain level of hard work that I don't pursue for that, particularly when the home now has both mom and dad in it. I think there's a balance that's required. People speak about these 50-50s a lot. And my thing is like, what is the 50? So what is the 50? If you're going out and you're grinding and you're getting all of the food and you're getting that bacon, that's your 50, okay? And you come home, you give me that bacon and I'm cooking it. That's my 50, right? So if I'm giving you that 50 of the bacon being cooked at home, and then I still go out and work hard as you, it kind of does not balance the scale. That whole equation gives 75-25, and that 75 is from the woman's side who, generationally is known for being a homemaker. So in actual fact, what I'm describing is the traditional gender role, actually. Not even real masculinity versus femininity, because those are actually, they do contribute to gender roles, but the way society has kind of turned right now is that, we see that even the males can be feminine, even the women can be super masculine. And finding that balance is key, because it becomes a big problem when that masculinity becomes toxic, and the same on the femininity side.
How do you see the relationship between traditional and contemporary views of masculinity in your community?
So I'll take it back to my upbringing again. So I am now living in the city in Johannesburg, but I was born and raised in the Vaal, which is less city-like. It's actually not city-like at all. It's more farm than city. There's a sweet spot of, I can do the whole city thing, but essentially the upbringing was quite different to what we see in the city right now. A slower pace, knowing your place as a woman, understanding your place as a man. Be slow to getting money, like the monetary stuff. Be slow to it as a woman, and be faster at learning how to do like the house chores and all of that other stuff. So that was the shaping of not just my home, but the environment as a whole that I grew up in the Vaal. Fast forward to city life, the views are quite different. They've drilled in the concept that came with colonialism quite hard in the city, where you are prompted to just go outside and get your money, right, as a woman. And now the space is not just a male-dominated space. Now the women are also getting out of their homes and leaving their children under the care of, like caretakers, home execs, maids, whatever you want to name them. So I do see a difference in societal expectation if I'm comparing it to home versus where I am right now in the city. Yeah, but again, I guess it's a matter of that environment that you come from, how much was really instilled in you. Because I do note that even me being here in the city, yes, I do appreciate my charisma for corporate, my desire for more, and, we're keeping it very shallow, monetary stuff. I can appreciate that charisma, but the desire for settling into pure femininity where I'm just taking care of my people in that way is still there, I think I still have like a little bit of home and a little bit of city in me, which, it does strike that balance of what I'm skilled at versus what I really want deep down inside, what I'm called for, what I feel I'm called for.
Based on your understanding of masculinity, what experiences, resources, or support do you think would most enrich the journey of African men today?
Back to upbringing. Jeez, I feel like that's the only thing that I'm speaking on, So I'll base this on an experience I had. It was some months ago. It was last year, actually, sometime. I was sitting with a couple of my friends. They're not from SA, they're from Nigeria. And we're in the midst of a conversation, debates, yada, 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 about something similar to like masculinity, actually, in African nations. And they made a very interesting statement. They said, do you know that in Nigeria, physical assault to our wives is not considered abuse? I'm like, so it's considered what? No, even the Bible says, something about kids and using a rod to discipline, yada, yada, yada. And to show love, you have to discipline. And, it sounded ridiculous while I was listening to them, but they have biblical references to that, meaning these aren't just things that they saw, but the men in their lives and the women who were getting beaten in front of them justified it, which made it more palatable for them, not just to hear, experience in their home, but to implement it outside. Because essentially, what you get taught at home, you get trained to implement it outside, right? As a skill of survival. So I think the support that can be offered, or resources, views, whatever you want to call it, is number one, how do we change how we speak to our children or the information that we feed them? Let's really analyze the knowledge that we have right now that we gained from our parents or great grandparents. Does it really benefit us, and will it really benefit the kids? And that information that we have, does it help us outside really? And will it really help our children when they step outside? That's number one. Secondly, we're teaching these kind of values because it is a value, because you gained it, right? It's a value. We have justifications to it. I get it. But they are training us to settle in survival mode, which is masculinity. And you're not teaching it just to the men, you're teaching it to the girls as well in your house, meaning we're not making space for femininity. We're making space for survival, which is masculine. Let's then unpack the reason behind it. We get it that hundreds of or so years ago, we were pretty much in war. You had colonialism, you had all of these things that pushed us into survival mode. We had to protect ourselves and our families and all of that. Do all of those things really impact us now the way that it did our great grandparents? And if the answer is no, then we have to find the gap of changing mindset of our own as parents and grandparents and all of that. I'm no one's grandparent, but I'm just saying, let's unpack certain factors that attributed to us raising our children in survival mode, and I find that is a Black thing, because colonialism again, it came, there was war, there was apartheid, there was this genocide, blah, blah, blah. So that fear and survival mode and wanting to prove that we really are strong when we actually know that we are not just physically strong, but like divinity as well. Like, we have full superpowers where we can take over the world. But in order for our other party to conquer us. They had to get to our brain. It wasn't just defeat them physically, but we have to break down their true source of strength, which is our spirituality and our mindset. So once those things were collapsed, we got into survival mode and we felt like there was no other choice but to transfer that fearful energy and survival energy onto our children. But there needs to come a time where we reevaluate if those things that we're running from or protecting ourselves from are still impacting us the way that they were back then. Because I do get and appreciate that there still is, forms of racism and discrimination. But is it the way that it was back then? No. So yeah, resources, I think that would be the first part of real introspection as families, as villages of the past in contrast to right now. And what have we poured into our present and how does it affect our future? So I think that's the first part. The second part, of course, don't shy away from therapy. But I think when part one is done, it would be so much easier to advise people into stage 2 of therapy. And don't shy away from speaking to your team. Like, don't shy away from being vocal about these things or what you feel as a masculine person, not even just a man, as a masculine person, man and woman, what you're really struggling with. And yeah, it will set the train for, I think, a more balanced society of masculines knowing what masculinity is, feminines knowing what femininity is, and knowing when to draw into that other gender. As a masculine man, you know when to pull into some femininity. As a feminine woman, you know when to draw into that masculinity. But as long as we don't truly understand our essence in those gender spaces, it will continue being difficult to pull into the next or ask for some from the next or offer a little bit more from the next. You know what I mean?
What message about masculinity would you want to share with young African men today?
Abuse is abuse. If you hit her, it's abuse. If you swear at her, it's abuse. If you raise your voice and with intentions of inflicting pain, it's abuse. And this message is not just for men, it's for women as well. If you hit him, it's abuse. If you swear at him, it's abuse. All of those things, they're all abuse. And we associate those things with strength, right? Physical strength, not mental, not spiritual. We're talking physical, right? And yes, when you do that and you can do that, it does show you, you do have physical strength, but it does not make you a strong person. It does not make you a healthily masculine person. It makes you a toxic masculine because your masculinity has no provision. It has no control. There's no parameters and you don't know how to use it or when. So as a man, when you offer that abuse to your partner, if anything, you're saying you're not worthy of having masculinity in you. As a woman, if you offer those things to your partner, what you're saying is that you're not worthy of femininity because you are pulling in so much of a very toxic masculine quality that you're not only drowning your femininity, you're actually breaking it out of your being and getting back into a balance of what I think, we are designed for, which is balance of both genders, would be an extraordinarily challenging job. So that's that part. Just don't abuse people, man. Come on. The Bible has such a basic principle: treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, life is not that complicated. Surely. Love each other like Christ loved the church. It's not that complicated. But there's a lot of healing that needs to be done, for sure. A lot of cleansing.